fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps, and I'm joined now with Jason Quigley. Jason, it's good to see you. It's been a while since we've seen each other. We saw each other in passing, actually, when you last fought Shane Mosley Jr. Congratulations on that win. That was a hell of a fight. Safe to say you guys stole the show.
Yeah, it was a great fight. It was a great platform, that we were on. It was, as Eddie said in the press conference leading up to that fight, he goes, when Robert and Golden Boy came to him with a fight, he was expecting like a 4 or 6 rounder or something that they wanted to get on. But whenever he says that he wants to put on Quigley and Mosley, Eddie rubbed his hands together and couldn't wait to put that fight on. So, we lived up to our expectations. We put on a great show, and as I said, it was a great platform to be fighting in the Mandalay Bay and on a big card like it was, and to get the victory like I did. It obviously has, furthered my career, my potential now to where I'm at.
Yeah, I saw the emotion running through you when you won the WBO NABO Middleweight Title. What was that feeling like for you? Because your journey it's been a long one. Nothing's come easy for you.
Yeah, I think, it's at these moments when everything just rushes out of you. It's like, it was just a build-up of everything, As you said, look, it's been a long career. There's been a lot of ups, there's been a lot of downs, there's been a lot of changes in my career, a lot of things that I had to make changes to in personal life and in my boxing career. And, coming away a much happier person and in such a much better place now, achieving your goals then is even more special. And just leading up to that fight as well with me and Shane, that fight had been scheduled maybe 3 or 4 times to happen. It all fell through. I got COVID at the start of that year. The fight fell through. It was just such a long build-up to that fight. And I think just whenever the victory came, it all poured out of me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about, because since you and I last spoke, I saw you in Sheffield.
Yeah.
You were training with Dom Ingle, and then now I see that you're training with Andy Lee. What sort of thought process went into the changes that you needed to make?
Well, like for me, obviously, I went to LA originally. Great experience training with Manny Robles and Edgar Yasso, with a great team over there as well. My management's still based there, Golden Boy Promotions, everything. It was an unbelievable experience. It's something that I had to go through in my career. But after those maybe 3.5 years, things just weren't clicking for me. It didn't feel right. And I'm a big home bird. I love home. I love where I'm from. Mm-hmm. And I kind of wanted to get back closer to there. And the UK was the next option. I went to the Ingle gym with Dom and everything, and with all the lads in there. Had another great time, another brilliant experience. Can't thank the lads and everyone in there enough for everything they done for me while I was there. And still something just wasn't clicking for me. Still something just wasn't right. And me and Andy had always kept in touch, just messaging every now and then. And, after my loss to Turiano, Andy reached out with a nice message. A nice message in terms of, I took a lot from the message. It just wasn't like, oh, keep your head up, everything's going to be okay. It was a nice message, coming from someone that has been through similar circumstances. And I really related to it a lot. Mm-hmm. And I was up in Dublin for a while, and me and Andy were messaging. We met up for a bite of lunch. And I've always respected Andy and looked up to him in a lot of ways, coming through the Irish boxing, the amateur scene and everything, and then obviously as a professional. And we had lunch one day, and the next day we're in the gym training together, and here we are now, going into I think this is our 4th fight now together, with a very long pandemic in between.
Right. So for the most part, I always say this when I'm talking about the change in trainers, it's sort of like like you're saying, like it didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. It's like relationships, isn't it? Like, you know,
Yeah.
when something feels right and when it doesn't feel right, but you gave it a try, but it didn't quite work out. What is it specifically about Andy Lee that you felt that just clicked?
Exactly what I said in terms of the text. I just related to Andy so well, and he related to me so well. We just understood each other, not only in a boxing sense, but in like a kind of a life sense as well, where we were at, what we were going through mentally as much as anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Andy's a very easygoing person. And I think too, you know, like Irish kind of get Irish as well. You know, like we just get each other a lot more, and it's the same as anything. Like Americans get America, the UK get the UK. Like it was just there's so many little aspects that kind of all add together with me and Andy. I'm so grateful, you know, to have Andy in my corner and to have him be in my coach's last while. And you know, every training session that we do together, we're just constantly bonding together, and everything keeps growing and keeps getting better. And you know, I think the whole pandemic really benefited us as well, because we were able to keep training, we were able to keep working away together, keeping on top of things. And you know, the amount of work that me and Andy has put in since we've got together, we're in each other's company nearly every day, like, you know. And you know, we're working really hard together on things. And now is the perfect time when things are starting to come together. Like everything that we've been working on, everything that we've been practicing, it's all starting to flow. It's all starting to come. It's all starting to peak now. And as you says, it's like with relationships, you either know or you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
or you either know or you don't. Like it's one way or another. And with me and Andy, you know, we have a great connection. We have a great relationship going there now, and it's very exciting, I have to say.
We also know, obviously, that Andy Lee's training with Joseph Parker. Are you guys all together at the moment? Are you guys
Yeah,
training now?
we will be meeting up all together now. We're not together right now at the minute, but in the next week or two we'll all be together, and it's gonna be a great camp, like without a doubt.
And you're training, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be where Tyson Fury's gym is?
Yeah, we're gonna be up in Markham. So we're in Dublin at the minute, and this is where the base of our training always is. You know, we're always in Dublin training together, but we're going to be heading out to Markham very shortly as well, and the whole team will be all together, and we'll be pushing each other on to become the best we possibly can be.
Well, we know that this next fight against Demetrius Andrade is now going to finally give you that world title shot, the shot at the WBO title. Let's talk a bit about that. For the most part, Demetrius Andrade, I think it's safe to say, on behalf of most people, they say he's a highly avoided fighter. So you going into this, obviously you're not intimidated by him. What did you make of Andrade, and sort of how did everything sort of come about in terms of negotiations?
Look, I do believe he is a very avoided fighter. I believe he's a two-weight world champion.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle to see how he hasn't got the big fights. You know what I mean? I think he definitely does deserve the fights with the likes of a Canelo, with the likes of Golovkin, and you know, these big names, these massive high-profile fights. I think he should have had these in his career. His best opportunity of having them
Mm-hmm.
is obviously when he has the world title, you know, and when he is the middleweight world champion. But if he hasn't got those opportunities yet, I can't see him getting them in the future, because I'm going to be in there to take that belt away from him. And that's my plan. That's my game. You know, I really respect him as a fighter. I think he is avoided because he has such a unique style. He's very different.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get many sparring partners to come in and emulate him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is a world-class, obviously a world-class fighter. Really respect him, and I think he's a great champion. But, you know, he hasn't come up against the likes of me yet. I haven't come up against the likes of him yet. We have been working for a long time now, since this kind of started growing this conversation about this fight, we've been in the gym working and training towards beating Andrade come fight night. And look, as I says, I really respect him as a fighter. I've watched him in the amateur game. I've seen him won a world championships out in Chicago for the national team.
Mm-hmm.
He's a few years older than me, so I was still on the junior team, the youth team. And I remember, you know, watching the world championships and everything, and I was watching Andrade in the world championships in Chicago and seeing him going on win the gold medal there. And I was very impressed by him. And here I am now challenging him for the world title myself.
So, sounds like to me you've pretty much studied him. You know what he brings. What would you say his weaknesses are then?
Look, doesn't matter how great of a fighter you are, Canelo, Golovkin, Floyd Mayweather, Muhammad Ali, they all had weaknesses, you know. And yes, we've studied Andrade, and you know he definitely does have a few weaknesses. He's very wild and reckless. You know, he doesn't really throws his head a lot. You know, he's a little bit all over the place and out of sorts at times. I think he tires a lot in fights as well. His engine doesn't seem to be great. But, you know, I can't expect these things to come in and happen now in this fight. I'm expecting him to, everything that he's been doing wrong in his career so far, I'm expecting him to be better in these, improving these, exactly what I'm doing in my career. You know, after every fight, I see something that isn't really on point, and I try to improve that. I try to better that. And, you know, I'm expecting Andrade to come in better than any of his previous fights. And I'm expecting and knowing that myself, I'm going to come in better than any of my previous fights. And that's only got a recipe for one thing, and that's a great fight.
The fight you had with Shane Mosley Jr. was, I mean, it was incredible. It was fun to watch. I'm sure it wasn't fun being in the ring, but it was fun to watch. Is that, obviously styles make fights, so it's not always the same approach with everyone, but is that the type of fight we can expect? And I ask that because oftentimes the media, and including other fighters like Canelo, have sort of dubbed Andrade as a boring fighter. Like, are you expecting it to be sort of similar to the slug match that you had against, you know, Mosley Jr., or what can fans expect?
Like, I believe that this could be a very interesting fight early on. You know, I believe that it could be to fight fans and to boxing fans. You know, I believe that this could be a very interesting one in terms of two styles. You know, trying to outthink one another, trying to, you know, break each other down as the fight goes on. Because Andrade has a very elusive style. You know, he likes to start fast. It's plain as day to see. But I believe that a lot of his opponents in the past just stood there and took shots, didn't really move their head, didn't really move their feet. And, you know, I showed in my last fight that I can stand there and fight, but I also can get up on my toes and I can dance around the ring and be skillful as well. So I'm improving and adding to my game all the time. I believe that this fight could be very technical, and it could also go into the trenches a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that the stronger man mentally and physically is the man that's going to come out on top on that fight.
So let's circle back to Andy Lee in terms of, like, now that you guys are together, what is something that you can say that you've really taken from his guidance so far? Like, what was something that you really learned about yourself?
Like with Andy,
stylistically,
yeah, like I can't ask for anybody better to have in my corner. Like, the man has been through exactly what I've been through in my career.
Mm-hmm.
He's come out the other side and went on and won this exact same title that I'm challenging for on November 19th.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, he gives me that belief, and he's proof of the pudding that it can be done. And then stylistically, you know, Andy gets me as a fighter. He knows exactly. We both practically came through the same setup and the same routine on the national Irish team together. So he knows the kind of transition in the process from being a boxer, scoring points, letting your shots go, and being a professional fighter, scoring your shots and hurting your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been working on different tactics, different styles, but Andy didn't come in and try and change me completely. Andy just tried to tweak little things and add things that is going to benefit me in my boxing game.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we have tweaked a few things in my technique. I think I'm going to bring a little bit more power into this fight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring a little bit more resilience, more just strength, not only in my punches, but more strength just in general ringmanship inside the ring as well.
So obviously a win over Demetrius Andrade really sort of opens up the doors, and we know that there's another champion sort of waiting there. And I'm not asking you to talk about a future fight before you even fight Andrade, but I just want to know what your thoughts are overall on Triple G and where he is now.
Yeah, look, I think Triple G is definitely at the end of his career. You know, and to be at the end of your career and have been out of the ring for such a long time, I think now is the perfect time to get Triple G. I think if he's ever going to be on the slide, or if he's ever going to be on the way down, I believe that it's now. And plus, with all that time being out of the ring, I think it's not going to stand too well to him because of his age, because of his career. And people have to understand as well, you know, the likes of myself and the likes of guys coming from the Kazakhstan, Russia, you know, we've had way over 250 amateur, 300 plus amateur fights before we even turned professional. Like, then you have all your fights, your sparring, your camps, everything through your professional career as well. So there's a lot of wear on Triple G's tires at the minute. And I think that anybody that's getting in with him now, I think, are getting in with him knowing that now's the perfect time to topple him over, you know?
Right. Is 160 the weight class you feel that would ultimately be the final weight class, or do you feel like you definitely have in the coming years the ability to go to 168 and fight there?
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, I believe I'm tall enough and I can fill out enough to be a 168 fighter as well. And I think that's what's great about boxing now at the minute. You know, people aren't just stuck in the one weights no more, and people are moving up and down weights. Fights are starting to happen a lot more now in terms of different champions fighting different champions, because fighters aren't afraid to go outside their weight class no more.
Right.
And I believe that 160 and 168 is a perfect weight class for me, both of them, because, you know, I've got the height, I've got the reach, I've got everything for middleweight and super middleweight. So yeah, definitely, you know, a move into 168 in the future as well is very possible.
Soon, I'm not sure if you are going to be there or not, but you know that Canelo versus Caleb Plant is next month. There would be an undisputed champion after this point. Who do you see winning?
Look, it's very hard to look past Canelo. He's definitely the pound for pound out there at the minute. He's world class, you know. He's proven himself every fight, and it looks like he's only getting better as well. Caleb Plant is an exceptional fighter, boxer. You know, he's got great skills. He's got great footwork. He's got great hand speed. He's a great boxer. He's got a smart brain. I believe that Caleb Plant will give Canelo problems early on in the fight, but I believe that Canelo will break him down and hurt him mid to late rounds and possibly get a stoppage. But the reason that I'm saying this, Caleb Plant hasn't been in with any massive names yet that you can kind of go off of and say, well, he done this to this fighter. Like, Canelo has been in with them all. You know, he's been in with massive names. He's knocked massive names out. He's produced the goods when it has to come.
Right.
And that's just one thing why I'm probably swaying more to Canelo, is because Caleb Plant doesn't have the same resume as Canelo has on his record. But I think it's going to be a great fight, and I love Caleb's mindset. You know, he's going in there so confident. I believe that I really love watching Caleb Plant fight. He's a brilliant boxer. I'm really looking forward to that fight, but I have to edge towards Canelo with a possible late stoppage.
It definitely helps too, in terms of not that it needs any more selling points, but the fact that they really do have, you know, bad blood towards one another definitely adds to the excitement, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, like as humans, you know, we're all loving and caring and everything like this, but we love when shit goes wrong as well, and when people start fighting and going at it. And even, like, I was only thinking this the last day, how, I don't know, do you know it, but Squid Game now is absolutely taking over the world. Like, such a brutal TV show that is just swept everywhere. It just goes to show you maybe how crazy us humans are deep down inside. And it's the exact same. It's the exact same with Caleb Plant and Canelo. You know, that fight was obviously talked about, but like, I remember that day when they went at it at the press conference, my whole social media feed, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything was just Caleb Plant, Canelo, go at it at the press conference. Like, it definitely heats things up, and it definitely was legit, I believe, as well. Like, I don't think any of that was staged. Like, I think that was legit, 100%, 100%.
Yeah. Before we let you go, I just out of curiosity, just as a fight fan, what's a fight that you're really hoping to see soon? It could be any weight class.
Oh, I really wanted to see Fury and Joshua. I just can't see that happen.
It could still happen.
Yeah, of course it could still happen. Just right now, I just don't think Fury is going to, like, be like, yeah, sure, come and fight me now, you know, especially with not as much on the line. I definitely would have loved to see that fight, without a doubt. You know, that would have been a world-class fight. Like, that's, well, when you're speaking about it now, that is one of the fights that come to my head. And another fight that I'm interested in, that I don't think a lot of people might be talking about too much, is I would love to see Callum Smith fight Demetrius Bivol. I think that would be a really high quality fight, you know, especially for the boxing fans, that, you know, would be a very, like, tactical fight early on, I believe, because Bivol is very tactical. You know, he's very bouncy, on his toes, in and out. But Callum Smith looks sensational in his last fight, and he looks huge at light heavyweight. Like, I seen him at his brother's fight over in Liverpool on the DAZN show with Smith and Fowler, and I just looked at him, like, how did you ever make super middleweight? Like,
I know. I used to always say that. I'm like, God, he's so big for that weight class, but it seems like he really fits in well at light heavy.
He looks great at light heavy, I believe. You know, he looks chunky, he looks fit, he looks healthy, and you know, he proved it as well in his fight. And, you know, thank God his opponent came out well as well after that fight. Something that we never want to see in a fight, especially fighters watching it. But, you know, happy that, I think it was Castillo that came out okay after that fight. So yeah, two fights I would love to see personally would it be Fury Joshua and Smith and Bivol.
Do you know who I forgot to ask you about is Chris Eubank Jr. Is that a fight you would ever consider one day?
Yeah, of course, you know, but I think everyone kind of calls Chris Eubank Jr. out. Like, just, I don't know, for the sake of it or because he's a big name, and you know, I'm not too sure. Like, of course, I would relish that fight without a doubt. I know now that he's signed with Sky Sports and everything as well, and he's looking for the big fights.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that I go in there, take care of business against Andrade on November 19th.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that myself and Eubanks would fill out any arena, Ireland, in the UK, 110% for the world title. I believe that would be a huge fight and something that I'd be very, very interested in.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good fight. But obviously, you know, should you be successful on November 19th, there are also other names that would be sort of standing there for you, being now that you're a world champion. So you would definitely have the picking for who you'd like to fight. There's talks, not sure how accurate they are, but we don't know if Billy Joe Saunders is going to come back and fight. I think that's still up in the air, but there's been talks that he should go back down to middleweight. If he were to go back down to middleweight, you would be holding the belt that he used to have. And I know at one point you guys were stablemates and even done some sparring together. What about that eventually one day down the road if the opportunity arose?
Yeah, without a doubt. It's like, you know, I'm in this sport to become the best that I possibly can. And that first off is becoming a world champion. And, you know, I take care of business and I do that and I achieve my goal of becoming a world champion on November 19th. Then the likes of a Billy Joe Saunders fight, of course, I'd be interested in that. The likes of a Chris Eubank Jr. fight, of course, I'd be interested in that. You know, these lads have proven themselves down the years. And of course, Billy Joe was a great champion. His last fight against one of the best in the sport at the minute in Canelo. And yeah, for sure, you know, if that fight came to fruition, of course, I would happily take on that fight without a doubt.
Well, first and foremost, we have November 19th to get through. Demetrius Andrade, any final words? Anything you'd like to sign off with?
No, look, I'm excited, and you know, we got the restrictions lifted. Ireland can travel to the US, so there's going to be a sea load of Irish over there on the East Coast come November 19th. I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to the atmosphere. And yeah, I'm ready to rock and roll and the new.
All right. Well, I wish you nothing but the best, and hopefully we can catch up with you. I'm not quite sure. I think November 19th, I think I'm actually not around. I'm looking at my schedule now. But I hope that we can speak with you during media week at the very least prior to the fight. So we'll speak then. All the best to you guys in camp next week, and may the best man win on fight night.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the time as always, Michelle.
All right, thanks, Jason.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Bye-bye.
Hey Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking this icon right here and hit the bell button below so that you can receive an alert every time we upload a new video.